Well, Psycho is my first attempt at a shocker.
Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is widely viewed as a cinematic masterpiece, a movie that forever changed the horror genre.
When I saw it, I absolutely went crazy.
But its journey to the silver screen was filled with challenges.
It was like a circus. A circus.
Paramount Pictures refused to fund it, censors scrutinized it, and Hitchcock was relentless in maintaining secrecy about the plot's shocking twists. But did Hitchcock finally go too far? Was Psycho going to be a major hit or a box office flop?
You know, I sometimes consider getting out of this business.
These are the trials and triumphs behind Alfred Hitchcock's gamble with Psycho.
And now join me, if you will, while we contemplate the perfect crime.
Known as the master of suspense, Hitchcock was highly regarded in Hollywood, having directed dozens of successful films and producing the TV series Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Here we have a weapon that is primitive but effective. You see, it takes two men to operate it, and the one at this end doesn't feel a thing.
But his decision to adapt the chilling novel Psycho radically pushed the boundaries of mainstream cinema at the time. Hitchcock's legacy wasn't enough for Paramount Pictures to give the veteran director free rein with Psycho. His 1959 film, North by Northwest, was a box office success, but Vertigo, released the year before, was considered a theatrical flop. These mixed financial results, along with other issues, didn't get his new project off to a good start.
Paramount, where he had been under contract, a very lucrative exclusive contract all through the 50s, they decided that they didn't like this project whatsoever.
The studio was actually unwilling to fund the film, reportedly due to the controversial depiction of sex and violence. Worried the shocking themes and unconventional approach would alienate audiences and critics, Paramount's lack of faith forced Hitchcock to take the unprecedented step of funding the film himself.
Let's go inside.
This meant Hitchcock would be working with a limited budget when compared to what he was used to receiving to produce a film.
A film of modest budget, roughly $800,000, which is, by the way, about 1/5 of the cost of North by Northwest.
And he said, I want to make it as simply, for as little money as possible, and I'm going to use the TV crew.
He turned to the crew from Alfred Hitchcock Presents to assist in his new feature production, allowing Hitchcock to keep costs down without sacrificing quality.
We wanted to take you behind the scenes for a moment to show you how we make our films.
The production's cost-cutting extended to other areas as well, such as filming in black and white, using modest sets and locations, and simplifying shooting techniques. Hitchcock was also challenged with finding the right cast, but did well with the hiring of Anthony Perkins as the deeply troubled Norman Bates.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
He's really magnificent playing the guy that I call the Hamlet of psychopathic killers.
And Janet Leigh, chosen to play Marion Crane.
Sometimes just one time can be enough.
Such an unusual approach to a movie. So of course, I just said yes.
The presence of other performers like Vera Miles and Martin Balsam gave the film a solid collection of actors, but the production was still facing major challenges, even before the cameras were rolling.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
Before production began on Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock had to deal with film censors.
You know, throughout his career, Hitchcock waged a steady war against the censors. They constantly watchdogged his films and those of the entire industry.
At the time, the Motion Picture Production Code, also known as the Hays Code, governed the content of films, enforcing strict guidelines on what could be depicted on screen. The code prohibited explicit portrayals of violence, sexuality, and other controversial subjects.
Hitchcock knew that the production code would forbid him to show outright a nude woman in a shower.
After reading the script for Hitchcock's Psycho, with its themes of murder, mental illness, and sexual deviance, the censors came back with some intense scrutiny.
Many lines were forced to be cut from the picture and the script by the censors, specifically dealing with mentions of Norman and his relationship with his mother.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Those involved in the film recall censors were even concerned about showing a toilet on screen.
The bathroom.
The bathroom.
Psycho was actually the first time a toilet was seen in a movie and actually flushed in a movie.
There wasn't too much comment about the toilet. I expected more objections on that.
While trying to manage censorship issues, Hitchcock went to extreme lengths in trying to keep the story's plot twists from leaking out during production.
Hitch's feeling about the movie was that it had to be kept secret, that the magic of it would exist in your not knowing the truth about the story.
He reportedly instituted a strict policy of confidentiality, demanding the cast and crew sign agreements promising not to divulge any details about the film, and not wanting any still photographers on the set, worried images would be leaked and ruin the film's surprises.
My friends knew I was working on a movie with Hitchcock, but they didn't know what it was. Had no visitors on the set.
Overall, it seems Hitchcock was able to keep production leaks to a minimum, but after filming wrapped, he once again had to deal with the censors.
In these days, in 1960, the censors really could make or break a film.
They took issue with several aspects of Psycho, starting with the infamous shower scene, which they deemed excessively violent and suggestive.
Psycho was a really very dangerous game, and through it, no one was ever sure whether they were going to pass the censors' stringent tests.
Hitchcock worked closely with his editor, George Tomasini, to create an illusion of violence without explicitly showing it.
The shower scene in Psycho, the knife never touched the body at all. It was just this fast cutting from one thing to another.
The film's portrayal of sexuality also raised red flags. The opening scene, depicting Marion Crane and Sam Loomis in a suggestive embrace, was considered scandalous for its time. The censors were concerned about the moral implications of presenting an unmarried couple in such an intimate setting.
We did have a few problems with the censor. They sort of said they didn't like Janet and her slip in the beginning, and a few odd things like that, but we tidied them all up.
With the challenges of the censors dealt with and the film ready for its theatrical release, the next issue for Hitchcock was how to best market this unique movie.
Psycho is being exhibited with a special presentation policy, a creation of Paramount Pictures showmanship.
During the media campaigns and press releases for Psycho, Hitchcock carefully orchestrated a marketing strategy guarding the film's plot twists.
We really have only your enjoyment in mind.
Additionally, he urged theater owners, staff, and even audiences to keep the film's secrets, employing taglines like, "Don't give away the ending, it's the only one we have."
I insist that you do not tell your friends the little horrifying secrets of Psycho after you see it.
And that was one of the first films I ever saw that they said, please do not reveal the ending. We were yelling at people as they were coming out of the theater saying, what happened? It was like a circus. A circus.
There was another issue Hitchcock faced with the release of the film. In the 1950s and 60s, it was common for moviegoers to enter a theater in the middle of a screening, often staying to watch the film again if they missed the beginning. The impact of Psycho hinged on viewers experiencing the film's shocking twists without missing the early parts of the story. Hitchcock dealt with this issue by implementing a no late admission policy, instructing cinemas not to allow anyone into the theater after the film had started.
I've suggested that Psycho be seen from the beginning. In fact, this is more than a suggestion. It is required.
No one will be admitted to the theater after the start of each performance of Psycho.
This unprecedented move not only safeguarded the film's secrets, but also contributed to its legendary status in cinema history.
The point of all this, of course, is to help you enjoy Psycho more. You see, I like you.
With all of these measures taken in the marketing campaigns, restrictions placed on theaters, and after dealing with an unsupportive studio and hawk-eyed censors, how was Psycho received when first released? Well, many reviews were negative, with some critics harshly criticizing the film for its shocking content and departure from traditional filmmaking norms.
The release of Psycho was not critically acclaimed. The critics didn't think this was up to the standard of North by Northwest or To Catch a Thief.
The critics had to see it on the day that it opened with the ordinary folk. And I'm convinced that we got a lot of bad reviews because of that.
Well, it's too horrible to describe.
Despite the initial reviews, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho became a monumental box office success, breaking records in the United States and countries around the world.
The policy of the special presentation of Psycho has proved itself.
It has brought to us at Paramount what I can only describe as a smash hit.
I declare
I think my reaction when I saw it was like everybody else's, because you get so just engrossed in the whole story.
The film's achievements not only cemented Hitchcock's legacy as a pioneering filmmaker, but also redefined the horror genre.
Psycho is the film that made me feel film could be an extremely powerful medium, and it scared the hell out of me.
Considered the most successful film of Hitchcock's career, Psycho turned into a cultural phenomenon.
Psycho was unleashed on audiences in June of 1960. It's really no exaggeration to say that movies haven't been the same since.
The early negative reviews were short-lived, as since then the film has largely received significant acclaim, critical recognition, and the film's iconic scenes have been endlessly parodied and referenced. Even though the horror masterpiece was restricted by censors and limited by its budget, it's hard to view Psycho as anything other than a success that continues to spark the interest of movie watchers today.
At any rate, we shall be back another time to explore further the dark alleyways of human behavior. Until then, good night.